looking at screen time. And to all the new people out there, welcome. I hope you guys are going to attend more sessions in future. Anyway, I'm just going to go over and share my screen with you guys. Before we get started, the question is, what is screen time? Now, screen time is actually a preference that allows you to track your computer or your device's usage from app to app. And there's also another part of screen time which is used for setting up restrictions, right? And this becomes more essential for parental controls, but you can also do it for self-discipline. So as I mentioned, it's a preference, so we will go into system preferences. And you will, well, just went straight into it, but let me just take a backtrack. I think I was in it earlier on. So there is your screen time preference. So if we go into it, it will show you the usage. But let me just go through the interface with you guys and explain to you guys all the different parts of it. So first of all, beg your pardon? It shows you your user, and I will. There's a reason why it shows you your user, because when you have family sharing, then you, of course, you have your multiple users that you can access. Below that is where you can check your usage. So the first one is the app usage, and on the right-hand side panel, or on the right-hand side, it will show you the usage per the days of the week. It will also show you an average. But this is now for that specific day, and you can go and change, and you can go and cycle through the days by just clicking on the arrows. You know, if you want to now see how your, what your usage were like on a particular day or through the days and so on. And now you can also change this to show per week, right? Now per week, it will then show you your average that you've done per week. And below here, you will actually see how many hours that you've done maximum, right? Under the productivity, there's your entertainment and others. Now, this you can also break down into either apps or categories. I'm just going to switch back to today. Show me the usage for today. And yeah, I see it in my different apps. You know, they have spent 6 hours, 5 hours on Slack, so on and so on. And I can also view it in terms of categories, right? So if I switch to categories, it's now put it together under entertainment, social media, social networking, etc. Now, one thing you guys must be aware of is the following. When it comes to your Mac OS, it doesn't show a true representation about your app usage. You see, guys, just a quick example. You see my messages app. It shows that I've been busy with messages for 2 hours and 43 minutes. However, the only thing I've done in messages, open it, check my messages. I wasn't even answering any messages or whatsoever. So what I've done was I went into other apps while messages was running in the background. So now it will show me the time that I've opened messages to the time that it's still busy running. So again, it's not a true, it doesn't show you what you're busy with, like with your iPhone, where if you go into an app, even if that app was running in the background, if you go into it, it will only register as the usage for that app. So that is something that you can maybe be aware of. Now, when it comes to notifications, notifications isn't about you. It's more of the apps that sends notifications to you. And here you can see how many notifications came from all the different apps on your Mac. And what's so handy about this is that you can then change your notification settings per the app that you were that you know, maybe it's more of an irritation to you, and then you can adjust it with seeing what is actually showing you here. So it's a good way of tracking it that way. When it comes to pickups, Pickups is more just, it doesn't show a true representation with the Mac per se, but it does show a true representation with your phone. So if you lift up your phone in the morning or during the day when it's asleep, and the first app you go into, it will then register on your screen time, and it will show you which that was the app, and it will get a certain a number under the pickup, right? Now you would notice that it shows it here on my Mac, and the reason for that is that you have a choice to actually show it for or to set up your screen time only for your Mac, or you can set it up to show all of the usage of all of your devices, right? And to do that, two things must count in. First of all, it must be signed in under the same Apple ID. Also, under your options, you can then see under the options there's a little tick box that says share across devices. So you can enable on this iPhone, iPad, and Mac sign into the iCloud to report your combined screen time. Also, guys, on your iOS devices, which I will go into when I'm finished with the Mac side of things, they also give you the option to turn the sharing share across devices on those devices. So that must also be turned on. So just be aware of that as well. Now, I've shown you about the tracking side of things when it comes to screen time, but let's look at the restriction side. Now here below, this is where things become a little bit more interesting when it comes to screen time. So there I've got downtime, right? So I can see downtime for myself, and I can specify when the downtime must take place. So downtime meaning that none of my apps will work during that time. So if I want to limit myself in terms of how I want to when I want to use my Mac, I can do it in here. I can either do it from every day from that time to that time, but I can also go to custom to set it up for the days in the week, right? But like I mentioned to you guys, no apps will work. However, only the apps that are said always allow will then be active during that time. So here I can go into big button, always allowed, and I can tick the ones that I want to have active, irrespective if my downtime is on, right? But like I mentioned to you guys, this works better with parental controls, and I'll show you in a minute. Just one more setting I want to quickly go into, and it's this one here called app limits. Now, app limits are pretty interesting because you can actually set up a certain time for that app to be active, okay? You can set it up for yourself as the main member, and you can set it up for those who are under your family sharing. Let's start with us as the main member. So if I want to set up an app limit, I can click on the plus, and here I have a choice, though, right? I can set it up for all of my apps and categories, which will select everything. Or I can go into any of these categories below. I can even go in deeper. So I can say if I go to my productivity category, there's a drop-down arrow. If I select it, it shows me the apps under that. So say for instance, just as a quick example, I want to put in a, let me say a limitation on my calendars, right? And I want to put a limitation for, say, every day for 1 minute, okay? Now I just click on done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my calendars, and I'm going to let it run in the background, okay? So there's my calendars running, and as you can see in here, it's showing my calendars, and my app limits are turned on, right? So now that that is running, I'm just going to continue on, and then we're going to return back to that. One thing I want to point out to you guys is I'm speaking a lot of things about pickup, about notifications, and so on. If you guys look on your screen time window, you'll see there's a little question mark. If you click on it, right, it will show you all of the information that I'm mentioning to you. Just gives you like a little bit more literature to look at, just in case you get confused about the different settings within your screen time. So guys, you can just check it out. And there are some other links as well that you can click on, and it will take you through that. Okay, so our calendar's minutes should be almost up by now, but let's give it a couple of more seconds. Just see what else I can quickly look at. Okay, so while we are still waiting for that, let me go into the content and privacy. So under the content and privacy, here you can set up certain restrictions beyond that of your app limits, and your always allow or your downtime settings in here, and you can set up limit adult websites. You can allow certain websites as well. Okay, and you can customize it and so on. You can also go to the store and set it up, the restrictions for your store. But again, guys, this becomes handy for the parental controls. But I was just thinking one more thing quickly that I wanted to show you guys. Remember the app limits that I showed you earlier on? What's so cool about the app limits? If I click on the plus, right? Right at the bottom, you've got websites. So you can do an app limit on Safari, but you can also do an app limit on certain websites that you regularly go into, right? But right at the bottom, you can also add websites that you want to put a limitation on. So say, for instance, you know, you are really in love with Facebook. Facebook is your whole world, but you want to limit it to only an hour. Then you can do a limitation for only that website for that time frame. So yeah, it's taking a little bit longer than a minute, but let me continue on. Okay, so now we've looked at the restrictions for us, the user, right, or the main member. But what happens if we want to do it now for our family sharing? So the first thing we need to do is to be able to get to our members is to first go into our family sharing, or to first set it up. So what we'll do is we will go to our family sharing. And in our family sharing, we can now set up our different members. What's so cool about the family sharing, guys, for those who have small kids, or even kids that are in their teens, some even adults can join your family sharing, because then you can share your storage if you've got more than 200 gigs and so on. There are other benefits to it, but we can make a video on family sharing. Again, we can do a lunchtime session. One of the major things about family sharing is, of course, that you can see there is screen time. So if I click on screen time, because it's only myself, my wife, and my son, as you could see. So here in my screen time, I can go straight to screen time by just clicking on open screen time. And yet it will take me back to my screen time window. This time around, I'm going to switch to my son, Hunter Martin. And now I can view his app usage, notifications, and so on. But sorry guys, there's nothing in here because Hunter broke his iPad just before the lockdown, and he's been offline for some time. But he's still there as a member nonetheless. But let me just take you into the downtime side now. Here I can actually add in downtime for him, you know, so I don't want him to play on the iPad from say 9 o'clock till say 8 o'clock the evening. So I can just make those changes here, right? And I can make it for every day of the week just to make it much quicker. Again, I can click on the apps that are allowed, right? But for him to, you know, the kids become very smart and they want to bypass this. So they will go into their device and try to go into and switch it all off. Now you can do a screen time passcode to it. So if I click on screen time passcode, I can set a screen time passcode. So I'm just going to make it easy. I'm just going to use a password that I always use with my devices. So now it's locked, beg your pardon, and he can't bypass that until he puts in that passcode. Okay. A major new change with Catalina. So if you're on Mojave, you won't see this, but for Catalina user only. So this is, you see that there's a communication option here, right? Now the communication option makes it possible for you to set it up for your child where you can make calls to certain contacts only during on the device, or even set it up for his downtime. So here it's a during screen time, allow communications contacts only, right? And you can say that you can edit the contact editing. For now, I'm just gonna keep it off. But now these are contacts that's on his device, right? But now say for instance, I'm gonna go to, I've set up downtime, right? I've turned on downtime for him. And then under communication, I can set up specific contacts, right? Now, if I go to specific contacts, I'm just going to put in my passcode. And then I can click on edit. Now, if I click on edit, it will then only give access to me, the parents' address book, and I can then select contacts from that, okay? So that is one of the major new features of screen time in Catalina. There's also another change that have taken place, and this is now where we can actually put restrictions on music videos. So if I go to content and privacy, under my content, I can untick. It's already unticked because I set it up already for his device, but I can untick the music profiles. And here this becomes pretty essential because here you can prevent your kids from going into certain websites, not prevent for them, but sometimes, you type in something and it will take you into a website you don't want to be into. And this is a good safety net or safety measure that you can put in place for things like that. So you can say that allow websites only, and you can add in the websites that they only have access to. And when it comes to the music video side, that is one setting that you need to turn on. But if you go to the store, then you can also limit you must also limit the age restriction in terms of the films as well as the apps, right? Because there are certain apps that give you music videos, and that also works for that purpose as well. So that is the options that you have in screen time on your Mac, right? I think the reason why my app limitation for my calendars isn't working is maybe because Zoom has now taken it over, and now I'm unable to see the limitations on that. But that's fine. I'm going to let it run in the foreground. And what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to take you guys into screen time on your phone, okay, on the iOS device. Just give me one sec.
Ange, I think it's also possible that 1 minute is a little bit too short.
No, I tested it already, Alan, and it worked.
No. Okay,
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, like they say, preparation favors victory. Okay, so guys, yeah, I'm on my iOS device, and like I mentioned to you earlier, on screen time is made for this, right? It's made for your mobile device, because you on your mobile device most of the time. So if I go into my settings, and then you will see that there's screen time there. So if I go into screen time there, it will then show me or it will show me my tracking there. Below it will give me my downtime, app limits, communication limits, always allow. So the same features that you have on your Mac. Below it will show you your family that's been set up in your family sharing. And you can add in a passcode like I had earlier on. But remember this option here. This is if you must have this ticked on if you also want to see the app usage across your Mac as well. So you can actually manage it that side or see it that side as well. Now, if you haven't done that and you want to keep your lives separately, that's fine. You know, it's your show at the end of the day. So now if you want to see your app usage per day, per week, then you will see just below here, there's see all activity. If you click on that, it will show you the activity per day. And all you do is you just swipe from left to right on the graph. Oh, sorry. At the bottom. And then it will show you, sorry, the graph at the bottom, and it will show you per day. Guys, I had to reset my phone because I had certain issues with my screen time, and that's why it's not showing any of the other days. But yeah, nonetheless, you can see that. The same if you will see at the top, if you tap on week, it will also indicate to you the usage per week, and you can just swipe through from 1 week to the next. In fact, on the week side, it will show you arrows where you can jump from 1 week to the next. And below, it will also show you all of your different categories or your apps, which you can show in categories by just tapping on the show categories option. So there is very little change between, or no change between your phone and your Mac usage. Again, on the Mac side is where you will be able to manage it when you're in your screen time. At the bottom, I'm just going to switch back to my account. At the bottom, you'll be able to see your usage per the device, right? And it will give you an update every time. So guys, that is my presentation. And I'm open for any questions. We actually got done right on time. I think I just went a minute over my time. Any questions?
Angela?
Yes, Sean.
Hi there. Thank you very much. It was really interesting as always. Are you managing your son's device from your own device? Is that what I'm seeing? So
that's right. Yes, sir.
And are you guys sharing Apple IDs, or how does it work? Is it enabled through family sharing first?
That's right. Yes. So what you do is one thing a lot of my clients, a mistake a lot of my clients make is they want to put their Apple ID on their children's device. You know, I've seen it with a few of my clients. And I say to them, you know, now what's going to happen if your calendars is going to share your contacts, all of your other things that you don't want your child to have access to. So what you can do is on their device, you set up an Apple ID for them, or you can even set it up through family sharing. And then you just put that Apple ID on their device. So now you're managing it through your screen time when you're going through that. If you say, look, these are your app limits, then that will actually be set up on their device. So you're managing everything from yours. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Like I said to you guys, myself and Alan, we were talking earlier on today. And we said, look, we might even set up a session only for family sharing to give you guys an understanding of how that works.
Yes, another real strength of that, come to you in a second, Michael.
Sure.
Another real strength of that is that you can assign all of your kids' accounts to your credit card. And then if they choose that if they've decided they find an app that they want, if they tap purchase, it sends a request to you. And then you approve or disapprove it. So it makes it very, very simple to manage your kids' app purchases and storage and so on. But yes, we're definitely going to have, within the next 2 weeks, we're going to, because we've only scheduled, or at least we've only announced the schedule for this week and next week, and we'll send out the last 2 weeks of the month. And I think family sharing is an essential one. Michael, you had a question?
Yeah, I think okay. This is I've never even tried this app, and I really didn't understand what it was actually there for. So, am I right in saying that I can now have my phone, say my wife's phone, and say my son's phone, if I'm paying for it? Okay, he's a bit old now, but or let's say my grandson. Can I manage those phones on my phone and restrict their usage and control it? So I would be the main phone and the main controller of how they go about using their phone. Is that what this boils down to?
Only for minors, eh, Mike? As soon as people are adults, then
Yes.
of course you can't do the restrictions on their phones or on their devices.
Yes.
It's only for the kids. I think it's I think when it's 15 or 16, you can rectify me if I'm wrong, Alan, and then that restriction doesn't apply anymore for them.
I see. Now, and is it only for an Apple phone? It wouldn't work on a no. So it's
we only love Apple people.
Well, there are a few traitors out there. Just checking. I'm not one of them. Okay. No,
Okay.
Thank you. I've got to digest all this, but I would love to see the next one that you do on family sharing. That would be most interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. One more thing, guys. One of the good things about family sharing that I really wanted to show was the app limits, because if you put an app limit for yourself, you've got control over that. So say, for instance, you decide that you want to go beyond a minute, you can say beyond a minute, you can say 15 minutes, or you can actually cancel it altogether. But when you're doing it for your kids or for the family's members, then they only can do a minute. They can't go beyond that. Like say for instance, if their time runs out, they only have a grace for a minute to make save changes and so on. And if that minute is up, it's done. They can't go into it unless you, the parent, changes it.
And they can request that from you.
Yeah.
Everybody, lovely to have you here, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the good wishes. God bless you guys. Thank you very much. Really motivating.
Bye.
Bye.